Welcome, everyone, to House of Prozorov, Thoughts from the Deep State, the Melting Snowflake. Um, what do we have to talk about today? I'd like to make these really short, sweet, and hopefully insightful. I mean, that's the goal, right? That's why you watch, to get new insight. Projection becomes reality. And projection is kind of what we see going on around us all the time. People observe. One of the best examples I can think of is walking through the store. um, Walking through the store, people, how they interact, what are they thinking while they're walking through the store. um, what I said before uh, could even be regarded as pseudoscience. I don't advertise this as science at all. This is not necessarily science. However, they're talking about how quantum now, things like quantum states, quantum chemistry, quantum computer, um, these things where explanations have to be revised, and they come up with solutions that are even mathematically possible, but they don't seem intuitive. They don't necessarily seem intuitive. They don't seem to follow the path of, well, of course that should happen. It's like photochemistry. You can shine one type of light on it, another type of light on a metal, a different type of light on a metal, and nothing happens. Then you shine the right light on a metal, and electrons and electricity can flow. I mean, it looks like magic. Often science can look like magic. And part of that might be the ideas that embody quantum based thinking, quantum physics, quantum chemistry, whatever. And so we're starting to accept that as very possible. I mean, I know there's some things like string theory. I've talked to people who tell me now string theory isn't true. They don't believe that string theory is real. And there are proponents of that, and that say string theory is merely doesn't hold up theoretically. So that's fine. But that's not simply quantum. There are a lot of things that are justified through quantum chemistry, quantum physics. Photoelectric effect is one. Classical mechanics is where everything is kind of linear. It goes just as we would expect it to, and every single from 0 to 100, every speed in between is hit. Nothing is missed. If you think of quantum, it's where existing, it isn't a linear loop where everything is tied together neatly. It's 0, 5, 10, 15. It's not 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 0, 5, 10, 15. Okay, if we can look at it numerically and we can understand those numerical patterns. But let's get into the human component, the anthropological component, the social component. Projection becomes reality. Neatly put, we're walking around the mall, and I've been in a couple countries now, so I've seen things and I have a different perspective from two different countries at least. Walking through China, seeing people healthy, happy. They seem to mind their own business when they're shopping. They don't seem to be like angry with each other. They don't seem to be mad that other people are shopping there. One thing I noticed in America, people dislike crowds, but we're a very crowded country. We're not as crowded as China and India, but those are the only two countries that have more people than we do. So we go into a store and everybody's trying to get the best parking space, which is kind of dumb because now you don't have to walk very far and you could use the exercise. So why are you so worried about getting the most close parking space to the front of the store? I don't get it. Okay, whatever. That's fine. That's just one minor point, but all these pieces of evidence start to add up. Then you got people walking into the store, they seem angry, they look at people only really to kind of display anger. We have this thing where this bottleneck of emotion where all we seem to be able to experience, especially as men, is anger. The anger emotion or I'm upset emotion. When there's hundreds and hundreds of emotions you can have, um, again, an over competitive society has a point where you know we're not, maybe as the sociologists are like the only ones thinking about it, the anthropologists, the sociologists, that people are projecting their future, they're projecting other people's future. So that has a it's in the mind of each and all of us. And we have a choice in that matter. And even if we don't acknowledge that it's real, there's a whole line of things that we can think. And when we get into quantum, we can think how we jump from thinking about what somebody wore to how long somebody's going to live. Or we look at somebody and judge them by their appearance, or we look at them and judge them by what's in their shopping cart, or we look at them and judge them by their hairstyle or lack of hair. Who knows what we do? And it's kind of quantum. You got to admit, you kind of randomly things pop into your head. Oh, yeah, there's things in the physical world to give you a hint. Um, and you see things and you start thinking about them, and it's not really linear. It's not like you start out saying, okay, let me analyze their age, their background, what they do, the stress they might have been through, have they been sick? We don't do none of that. We just have things pop into our heads. So, in that sense, sociology can be looked at as quantum. It's just kind of whatever is there is there. And so, what we project becomes reality. And what we have is a massive obesity problem in our country, and hair loss, obesity, people looking older long before they should ever look that age. You got people looking like they're 60 and 70 when they're in their 40s. You got people in their 30s looking like they're 50. I see that in America. When I was in China, I saw the very opposite. I saw people, I'm like, oh, you must be 35 years old. They're actually 60 years old. Oh, you must be 25 years old. They're 50 years old. I mean, I could not guess their age. And one guy joked and said, well, that's because you're a Westerner and you judge it by Western standards. And he didn't want to offend me, I could tell. But we have a real problem with our projection. We're not projecting better food. We're not projecting better health. We're not projecting more free time. We're not projecting living longer. We're just projecting competition, and we're being led by the Pied Piper of corporations. And that works fine for a corporation, and there's space for that. But people adapting ideas of corporations, not so wise always. Um, Being so competitive, so judgmental. Does something make me money or not? I mean, it's a yes or no. It's a binary question when you think about corporations, which is kind of quantum too. It's yes or no. It's nothing in between. Yes, that's the right thing. No. Yes, no. That's it. It's ones and zeros. It's binary. It's quantum. Nothing in between. It's not 0.1112. It's not 0.1113. It's 0 or 1. It's quantum again. The same thing with our judgment. Our projection becomes reality. We are projecting poverty. Are we projecting sickness? Are we projecting old age? Are we projecting that we are not enough? Are we projecting failure? Are we projecting illness? Are we projecting early death? Why would we even think that way? Why would you even think that way? I found a very interesting manipulation tool. There was this guy masquerading as an academic with the word of the day. And I noticed all his words were extremely negative. All of them led towards like loss of money, sickness, wealth, malfeasance. Just every word you would learn from his word of the day was mean. So he was literally, in my humble opinion, causing people who would use that word of the day app or that word of the day calendar to come up with the worst meanings behind life in general, because you're always getting the word of the day is something negative. The next word of the day is something negative. And the next word of the day is something negative. And the next word of the day is something negative. It's like reading Stephen King every day. And Stephen King, you're going to get horror, right? So you kind of know, don't pick up a Stephen King book unless you want to get horror. We know that, right? And it's not even just the horror we like. We like the twists and the unexpected turns that Stephen King will write about. But for society as a whole, we do not want to influence people to be negative and to think that things aren't going to work out and that poverty and death and sickness and all that is all we have to look forward to. We don't want to do that. And we want to have a different projection because our projection is quantum. We pick up different things for different reasons, but it doesn't seem to be linear. So when we think about quantum, we can justify it with our brains. Our brains have ideas that seem to pop into our space. Now, reductionist scientists are what we have in the West. It's all reductionist scientists trying to simplify things to a very linear pattern. But we can't do that when we get into quantum chemistry. We can't do that. The Rydberg constant, for example, calculating the energy levels or the light energy or the light wave given off at particular different quantum intervals in the electron orbitals after excitation. I mean, that's a very simple general chemistry analogy. But anyhow, I've ran out of time. Projection becomes reality. Project well onto yourself and the people around you. You don't know how that affects things. The science doesn't understand everything. Prayer once was thought not to be scientific. Now we know it's like a placebo effect. We know that the placebo effect has effects on our biochemistry. And so prayer, from that point of perspective, doesn't seem like a bad interruption to our day. It's quantum. We went from being angry with someone in a store to praying for them. That seems like a good thing. So projection becomes reality. This is thoughts from the deep state, the melting snowflake, melting down. It's pretty hot out. It's August. House of Prozorov saying take care and enjoy your day.